Aquafina! Welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin, and I'm here to talk about toys. Today, I've got a giant tub here labeled Peg, and this box contains many items from the first year of Pegwarmers. We're going to take a look through it. There's actually a couple items on top of this tote that we're going to look at first. These are some recent items that have found their way to me. The first two is this set of Valentine's Day Funko Pops of Princess Leia and Han Solo. These are Valentine's, so they're like chocolate being unwrapped. And, I don't know, there's kind of an interesting take. Boss Fight Studios that was doing the Bucky O'Hare figures did like a chocolate version of Bucky O'Hare with the brown chocolate colored paint, but with like the pink eyes, the way those Easter rabbit candies are. So these are kind of interesting as Valentine's Day candies. I also have two action figures here that I got for my birthday. I don't really know what the story is. I don't really know how we found these, but my mom wrapped up for me these two Princess Leia figures. One is from the Star Wars Shadows of the Empire set. I had this Princess Leia in Bouch disguise as a kid, actually, and it's just funny to see it carded here. This is actually a topic that's come up before as a possible topic for a future episode of Pegwarmers, and so this maybe will help motivate me to consider doing that episode. This other Princess Leia figure is based on Star Wars Rebels. There weren't a ton of main universe characters that appeared in Rebels, but like Lando Calrissian and Princess Leia did make it in there, and so this is her representation from that series. Alright, so the giant tub. When I used to shoot in the studio, if you are newer to the channel and you haven't seen the early episodes, I used to film in a studio. All the episodes always had guests, but things changed, and I don't have the editor anymore, and I'm not shooting at the studio. So I shoot most of my episodes here, or I shoot some with Tony from Hack the Movies, and a few other situations. I would actually like to try and set up a way to record guests here, but I don't really have a good setup for it yet. I've done it occasionally. I think Mike Bro did one episode here with me, where we just put the microphone in the middle of the two of us, and it mostly worked out. But this tub is one of two totes that was at the studio with all the stuff we used to put on the shelves behind us. Like here, I have my own stuff, but that set was used for multiple shows. It was used for the Cinemassacre podcast, it was used for Talk About Games, and it was used for Pegwarmers, as well as occasionally for other productions. So I had a couple bins there. There were things that I kept in the bins for possible future episodes, and that whole office and studio space has moved, and so they basically were like, hey, you want to grab these totes? We're trying to clean up some of the stuff. So I'm going to crack this open, take a look at some of the stuff. We'll see what's in here, why it's in here. I'm trying to decide on some of the stuff if I'm going to hang on to it or not. First up, we've got a Motu Origins Skeletor. The Motu Origins line was pretty new at the time that we started Pegwarmers. And these guys were pretty cheap at one point because that was all that was on the pegs was He-Man and Skeletor. And so I grabbed a set, I think, or maybe just Skeletor that I had on the shelf at the studio. Here we've got Stridor from the vintage Masters of the Universe line. We were looking for different toys to put on the set. I had Stridor and I think Night Stalker, actually, like extra ones. And I used to have them on a shelf at my house for kids to play with that came over. Like my nieces and stuff like that, because I didn't really need the duplicates. And so when I was looking for set dressing, a lot of those toys ended up going. And so now I've got my extra Stridor back. Funko Pop Ponda Baba. So there was a Funko Pop set that was based on the old Kenner figures. My buddy Tony from RetroCon really wanted the Hammerhead figure, so we split the cost of the set. And after one of the early episodes where Mike Bro showed off his Ponda Baba Power of the Force 2 collection, I took this Ponda Baba bobblehead Funko Pop into the studio to put on the shelf as sort of a reminder to that Pegwarmer. The Lego Yoda Clock. I don't really know the background on this figure. I don't really know where it came from. My friend's mom found it somewhere and wanted to give it to me. I don't know how she got it. And they gave it to me and I left it at their house. When I left, I just forgot to grab it, and then it was there for forever, like maybe 6 months or something like that. And then it was like this big deal, like, here, have it. And I used to have him in my old house when I did SEO Tour Review in the background for some of the videos. I had some of the clunkier, bigger items, and so he became a great item for the set. You know, he works well because he's so big, and he represents Star Wars and Lego. G.I. Joe Classified's Cobra Commander. The Classified series was pretty new when we started Pegwarmers, and we talked about some of these figures a lot. And so we had Cobra Commander, and also Gung Ho on the shelf for many episodes. Glow Friends. There is an episode of Pegwarmers about glow-in-the-dark toys that featured Jordan from Geek Anything, and he lovingly named this guy Glow Bro, with his hat on backwards or sideways, and I thought that was hilarious, so I hung on to this guy. I used to keep him on the set, but I'm happy to have him back here because he will go on the shelf. I do have a few Glow Friends in the collection. Mike Bro and I did an episode about street dates and how they're making collecting harder. I think that was the episode we featured this Katie Marvel Legends figure. Shang-Chi, maybe started off the trend of a lot of the Marvel Legends stuff from the movies peg warming. You know, the earlier waves like Black Panther from the original movie and Captain America and Iron Man, those movies sold well, even Guardians probably. But then we ran into, a string of movies like Shang-Chi and the Eternals and Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, that just did not move. Bobblehead Garrido. This is also from that Funko pack that Walrus Man came from. Another bobblehead that I have. This is an old school Funko. This is not actually a pop, but just an early Funko bobblehead. And it's Chewbacca. And again, it's a kind of a little bit larger format figure that shows up a little bit better on camera when he's in the background. So I don't even know where I got him. Somebody gave me him at one point in time, and so he became a set dressing. Mysterio. This line of bendy Marvel characters peg-warmed like crazy. Certain characters. And Mysterio was included because Spider-Man Far From Home was coming out, and he was a character in that, but this figure just did not sell well. I actually bought a handful of these figures. I think I got Spider-Gwen for my stepson, and Mysterio made it into an episode and was on the set for several episodes. Episode 1, Anakin Skywalker. I remember getting this figure back in the day. Actually, Tony from Hack the Movies did a Star Wars Episode 1 episode that really featured a lot of the merch, and he had this box of random Episode 1 stuff laying around at one point. Well after the shoot, and he told me I could, pick through it, so I grabbed a couple action figures out of it, and I was using Anakin as a set decoration. He's kind of tiny, though, so he's pretty tough to pick up on camera. Alright, so the next two items here were never seen on camera. They were at the studio for other reasons. Before I moved, I had a massive collection of animation art, like animation cells from a whole lot of cartoons. He-Man, some G.I. Joe, real Ghostbusters, Star Wars droids, and Ewoks. And these two I got from Street Fighter 2. And they used to hang in my master bedroom next to each other over a doorway, kind of up out of the way. And I was going to give them to one of the guys that worked at the studio. And it was going to be like a Patreon bonus clip. I just needed to thin out some stuff. And so I took him to the studio and put him in the tote. And then we never got around to shooting together, because he was always, editing other people's content when I would be there, and so I just never gave them to him, but now I have them back. This is Vega from Street Fighter 2. I really like this cell. Vega is such a cool character. And my go-to character as a kid, Blanca, holding a giant tree log. These are really cool cells. Now that I have them back, since I never actually gave them to the other guy, I never even told him I was going to give them to him. Maybe I'll find a place to put them up. I do have very limited wall space here. Like, I'm packing this place with stuff. But these are pretty cool animation cells. Alright, here's an action figure I once dubbed the most 2020 action figure. This guy appeared, I think, in the first episode we ever released. He was like a low-budget figure. So one of the things we were trying to do in the early episodes was always have a Pegwarmer or like a low-budget toy. On SEO Toy Review, we used to have a little segment called Low Budget Bonanza. Occasionally we'd do like dollar store toys and things like that. And so anyway, we found this delivery guy during COVID who had a COVID mask on. He has a hat somewhere in the bin here, and he's got gloves on and everything. And I just thought they were hilarious. I got this guy at Five Below. I think they still sell him at Five Below. And he was on the set for many, many episodes. I picked up a couple of these Ben 10 figures. I was hoping to use these in an episode with Xander sometime, if I ever filmed with him. He's one of the guys that works at Retroware. He is actually in the Toxic Crusader episode I did. We looked at some Super 7 Ultimates Toxic Crusader figures, as well as he talked about the Toxic Crusader beat-em-up game they're working on. He used to do a lot of Ben 10 content on YouTube, and because we were doing a Toxic Crusader themed thing and not anything on toys in general, I didn't include these low-budget figures in that episode, but they were part of the plan to include in an episode someday with Xander. The Toad Air Marshal, this is a Bucky O'Hare figure. He was one of the biggest Pegwarmers in that line, and probably led to that line being only one wave. Kids couldn't find Bucky or any of the other fun characters. They could just find the main bad guy. Kevin Porter from Land of the Lost. Land of the Lost was a show in the 60s or 70s, like a Sid and Marty Krofft series, that then got rebooted in the 90s with its own toy line. It was a toy line I did not collect as a kid, but I thought was kind of cool, and I liked the show a fair amount. And as an adult collector, I got most of the line pretty cheap at RetroCon one year. And when I was getting ready to move, I sold some of it. And I decided to do like an episode and unbox a bunch of the stuff I had that was carded, just to be able to show off the line. And I mostly just sold a few of the small vehicles and some doubles I had of characters. But this Kevin Porter made it onto the set, and he's got this amazing sidekick. Ghostbusters walkie-talkies. Who you gonna call? Over and out. I bought these as a low-budget toy to talk about in an episode at some point, but it never happened. So again, this is never before seen on the channel. I do like that they have two different facial expressions. I'm not even sure if I noticed that when I first bought these. Walkie-talkies were really popular for a little while. I don't know if that was 2020 or 2021, but you know, my stepsons had like Batman ones, and I was just seeing them for everything. Because in this day and age, with like cell phones being so readily available and like live streaming and everything else, video calling, it's funny to have walkie-talkies, but you know, kids don't always have their own devices. I have no idea if these are any good. Panthro from the Thundercats. Oh, don't step on my semoflange. Again, I had multiple, I think I had 2 or 3 Panthros, maybe at least 3 Panthros. I have one in my collection, and I think I sold one. And I also had this guy, so he came to the studio and was on the shelf to help represent the 80s. Motu Origins Prince Adam. So the Motu Origins line had Prince Adam packaged with the Sky Sled. The Sky Sled could be put together as a hero version or a villain version, but you got Prince Adam either way, and they peg-warmed like crazy. That set didn't sell real well, and when they got real cheap, that's when I bought my second one and showed it off in an episode, and Prince Adam hung out on set. Found some more low-budget stuff that probably was meant to be used in an episode at some point. Optimus Prime keychain from the dollar store. We did feature these little minifigures from Motu on an episode. Also have some Make It Block figures. These guys are like zombies or zombie fighters. I have 3 of those that I probably meant to open in an episode at some point. Alf Summer Camp Adventure. This is a kid's storybook. I think I told Mike Bro I had it for him at the studio, and we just never got there together again to film. So now this is here. I have a better chance of running into him and being able to give this to him now. I got some trading cards. Maybe I'll start opening these on future episodes. That's kind of what I bought them for, was just to have like a little conversation starter for a little segment. I think I opened a pack of Skeleton Warrior trading cards in the episode with Pixel Dan, where we went through an 80s Kenner catalog. But here's some wacky packages. Garbage Pail Kids. G.I. Joe Retaliation. Oh, here's a pack of Super Mario Brothers cards. Terminator 2. So, some of these we'll have to check out on an episode down the road. Rita Repulsa. She was, maybe 2016, like during Power Rangers Samurai. She's missing her headdress. It has literally been in my truck since the day I took her to the studio. It fell off in the truck, and I found it later and put it in my console, and it never made it back to the studio. So now that she's back here, I need to reunite her with that. But this was the first Rita Repulsa figure ever made, and it's terrible. This stretchy dude came from the dollar store and was a low-budget toy in an episode from Mike Bro. We mentioned how great he was for ASMR. I'm kind of amazed he's held up this long. Rainbow Pants Outback. This one has a broken waist. I did upgrade mine to, actually, I think I got a carded one that I will be able to open to have a complete figure. And I told a crazy story about, like, kind of misordering or mispaying, sending money to the wrong person on PayPal when I bought him online. What a disaster. But I don't remember what episode that's from. But I basically got distracted and mistyped somebody's PayPal account, and of course the wrong person took the money, and then I had to repay the actual person. That was a little frustrating. Episode 3, Anakin Skywalker with his sword slashing action. I mean, he really just flails it around. You can put both hands on the saber for more of like a two-handed grip, which then gives him a little bit more of a controlled slice, but that's not nearly as much fun. Burger King Z-Bot, a Batman Returns the Penguin PVC figure, and a Batman Returns Batman PVC figure. A custom-painted Robin. This is the Dick Grayson or Quick Change Robin figure from Batman the Animated Series, and I needed to throw my Robin figure out the window of my college dorm on a paper and K'NEX hang glider, and I didn't want to risk messing him up, so I found a Dick Grayson without any accessories at the flea market, and I painted on his mask and his boots and his chest, so from the, faraway shot from the ground as the glider plummeted to its doom out my 7th-story dorm window, it would look like I had a Robin figure there. I have no reason to really hang on to this stunt double other than that story, so he was on the set. Jacked up Mr. Freeze. So this is a Mr. Freeze from the DC line that came out around the same time as the Batman 89 series, I think the Toy Biz series. And he was, like, destroyed. I bought him at a yard sale, and my friends and I were working on this video project. We were going to do a video project that had 4 different Batman stories told with different style Batman figures. So we were going to use, like, Batman 89 figures for one, Batman Animated Series figures for one, old, Superpower style figures for another one. And so this was going to be in the Mr. Freeze for the Superpower style segment. And I put a little quarter machine bubble on his head and just tried to, fix him up a little bit. And I took him into the set, years later. He never got used for that project. That project never really got off the ground. And he sat around. So eventually I took him into the studio with a lot of custom figures I didn't really care about anymore. And he actually took a header off the shelf one day and smashed his bubble. But that looks pretty wicked. Here's a baggie of some weird stuff. Bendham's Emperor. What a bizarre figure. Fishing Trip Bazooka. Secret Wars Kang the Conqueror. This Luke is lovingly known as Spicy Meatball. Luke Skywalker, dubbed so by Jordan from Geek Anything. It's a very bizarre, very scene-specific, moment-specific version of Luke. There's a couple of low-budget knockoff G.I. Joes in this bag. I might save them for another episode. They never made it into an episode, even though I took them to the office to put them in an episode. A couple of Rainbow Bright pencils. Those are vintage. I wonder if I took them to give to Aaron from Aaron Plays. That would probably make sense. I think these might have been my sister's growing up. Meh. They don't have erasers. Do you remember that? Sometimes the decorative pencils didn't have erasers in the 80s? Strange. And my custom Outback. I made this, I made a couple figures for a anything but G.I. Joe custom contest. Now, you were supposed to make a G.I. Joe character, but use anything but G.I. Joe parts. So for that contest, I made a Cobra Bat using an artist mannequin, and I made this Outback figure using a Legendary Journeys of Hercules figure, which is why he has such long hair. But I painted him up to have a shirt. I actually used some tape to create the sleeves. He actually had some pockets on the side of his pants. They were sculpted out of Play-Doh, because I didn't really know how to sculpt things back then. And they eventually like dried out and shrank and like cracked off years later. His knife that's in the sheath here is actually the knife from the game Clue, and the straps again were created with tape. His weapon is a piece of balsa wood and like a drink straw and a piece of string. And he also had a backpack. I don't know what happened to the backpack. It may have gotten crushed, but I used a small cardboard box that screws came in, and I added straps to it, and it had a hole in it so it could fit around the peg for his little action feature there. And so this figure could actually, had a backpack, and you could actually put stuff in it, because the cardboard box, you could, like, open the flap, which was kind of neat. So this is supposed to be, like, Outback after a really long mission, and his hair's gotten really long and stuff. I don't know, kind of fun. I didn't really know what to do with this guy. I didn't really want to throw him out, but, I was trying to, like, downsize some stuff when I was getting ready to move. So I just took him to the studio because he could sit on a shelf and, kind of intrigue people, perhaps. That seems to be everything that's in the bin. That's a lot of stuff. I do have another bin full of things. I don't know if it's as random as this one was. Probably. Probably just as random as this one. But, yeah, it was a good time when we used to shoot there. I loved having the guests on. It's gotten so much harder to schedule that kind of thing. One, I don't really have the multi-camera setup and the multiple mics to do that kind of thing. And now that I edit the videos myself, the time to like schedule the guests and schedule the shoots around other people's schedule makes it a lot harder. I shoot these. I have a kind of a fairly set schedule of exactly when I shoot these and then get them edited. And I don't give myself a whole lot of time to do that, which is not ideal, but it's kind of what fits in my lifestyle. When I wasn't editing them, I could put my time into scheduling them and also be more flexible about when I shot them, because I didn't need to, kind of shoot things in a certain time frame, other than we always just had to be ahead. We were actually shooting a month ahead back then, so that way the editor always had stuff. It was really great. I love that content. I'm super proud of that content. It's the highest quality stuff I ever made for YouTube. But I try and do a lot of B-roll. I try to get good audio. Try to get, decent video. And that's really, really where it comes from. Last week, I did an episode about some new shelves I have down here for Warhammer 40,000 toys. I believe the episode before that was a haul from a toy show in Delaware. So if you haven't checked out those episodes, please go back and do so. And if you haven't seen some of the early episodes, you really got to check out those playlists and look at some of the early episodes, because there's some really great content in the early days of Pegwarmers. All right, guys. Do me a favor, hit that like button, tell YouTube that I'm making quality content. Leave a comment down below. What was the most interesting thing in the box? And if you want to support the channel further, consider joining us on Patreon. Thanks for hanging on the peg with me, guys.